everyone. My name is Andreas Diaz. Me and Will are back today for a Marvel Plus talk on the Blade series, and that's the first film, Blade, in 1998. Of course, directed by Stephen Dorrington, and of course stars Wesley Snipes in the title role of Blade. Anyway, so Will, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, very good. I just graduated from Berkeley College.
Yeah. Congrats.
Yeah, for my bachelor's. So it was a fun day. Thank goodness it didn't rain, uh, which is good. But yeah, I was, and watching Blade was, uh, watching Blade. It's kind of interesting, and then overall, like looking at the history of the film and its importance to the superhero genre, and then Marvel in general.
hmm
It's very interesting, and I guess the first question, I why you picked this film? It's kind of interesting that you picked this one, and
Uh,
I really like the choice too.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, I think first of all, it's just a fun movie.
Mhm.
I enjoy watching it. There's like fun, cheesy dialogue. The action's cool. The story's like pretty good. It's like, it's just a fun movie to watch. But then also, like you were saying, it's the importance that this film has in the history of the genre and its influence on like future Marvel movies.
Yeah, um, it it helped like give the series more a better idea of what Marvel can do
Mm-hmm.
as films, because I mean at that point, Marvel was struggling to get them taking serious in their properties, and like it was like the cartoons were kind of like where they got to be more popular.
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, one of the things is kind of cool about this one is like I like how you don't know it's a comic book movie until you like just see like a very quick flash of the credits of like Marvel Comics and and Blade's creators.
Mm-hmm.
And so and it's like, oh, okay, it's based on a Marvel movie. And then um, I think overall this movie is a good, first starter for a film franchise. I think this film did a really good job of setting up Blade and like his universe in such a good way, and like it definitely defined Blade. Like now, before that film, like this is like the look, and the sword and the sunglasses is the look of Blade now, because
Mm-hmm.
of Wesley Snipes. Kind of like the same thing with Christopher Reeve and the Superman films. Like that now is like the image of Superman,
Mm-hmm.
and and rightly so, because I think Wesley Snipes is definitely the definitive actor for Blade, and I'm very curious. Of course, we're not gonna talk too much about it. Of like Mahershala Ali taking over the world. Of course, we know Marvel Studios is developing a new Blade film, and like I'm kind of curious what they're gonna do for the reboot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's very interesting. Um, like and also like it's kind of cool that Blade is like the first major success, and it's a horror film because it's like calling back Marvel comics, like when they were not doing superhero stuff during the 60s or like the
Mm-hmm.
mid 50s. They were doing monster books, and
Yeah.
this is kind of interesting that this is the first success for Marvel is based on a horror thing.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah. uh okay. I guess where you want to kind of talk about, because you want to talk about first Ridley Snipes as Blake.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, so have you seen his other films besides Blade?
Uh, Actually, I don't think I have. I think
Oh,
I've
really?
only seen him as Blade,
Oh my
and I
god.
know about his history of tax fraud and that he's Blade, and that's it.
Oh my god. Yes. Okay. I've seen a couple of Wesley Snipes films. U.S. Marshals. That's like a regular film I seen with my family in this
Mhm.
house, and he's great in that movie. That's the sequel to Fugitive, uh, the Tom Harrison Ford 1993 film,
Mm.
where he was framed from his wife's murder and stuff like that. So that's like the sequel to that. Um, and then other one like Demolition Man. I'm surprised you haven't seen Demolition Man. That's a good movie. I highly recommend you watching that because that's his like I think like breakout role,
Okay.
and it's a really good science fiction action film. I think you will enjoy that film. Will.
Yeah, no, I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's really good. It's with Sandra Bullock and Stallone, and it's a very fun, action packed but very cool science fiction film.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think I guess another interesting fact is that before this film, he was trying his hardest to develop a Black Panther movie, and
Mhm.
he was because he wanted to do that, and then it's kind of interesting that he got this role after just failing to get that project off the ground, of course. And you know, um, do you think he could have been a good Black Panther during that time? Um,
Yeah, I could see it. I mean,
okay.
I have trouble picturing anyone other than Chadwick Boseman in the role, but
Yeah, yeah.
um, I could see him playing a version of T'Challa.
Um, yeah. I'm curious if he would ever do like an accent, but I mean that's
Mm, yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
that's where I'm kind of curious. Um, uh, and then what else?
it's
Trying to think.
strange that they went with Blade over Black Panther, though. I feel like Black Panther
Oh,
uh, would have been a more well-known property since he was like an Avenger. And
yeah. Um, I feel like I mean, well, I back in the '90s and with Warner Brothers and their DC property,
Mhm.
like the problem sometimes with these different films were their budgets, and I, I mean, I think Black Panther like had I think more a chance than the other Marvel characters because he wasn't like super powered. He, um, like he was basically Batman, but like he was a little more like fantasy Batman, right?
Right.
And I like um I mean and like Wakanda is kind of like Gotham where you can create like Wakanda, like very like it could have had that like very 90s like just a noir kind of feel to it, right?
Mhm.
um I well then I there's also a problem where I the um how I word this properly like back then, you got now, like, the diversity and like, seeing, like minority groups having their like chance to be like the leads of films like Crazy Rich Asians
Yeah.
or In the Heights, like a teen film or like
Mhm.
or like of course every black film you got like The Boys in the Hood or Jewish in the Black Messiah. Like I I don't I feel like at the time that was a little tough to sell in Hollywood during back then.
Yeah.
So I feel like Black Panther was kind of difficult to just put out. It's kind of weird with Marvel and how they were trying to get their projects. I mean, because I like their attempts. I mean, I don't know. Like unlike DC with their trilogy, like they did good with them with the TV, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman,
Mhm.
and then with Marvel, it was like they'd struggle, and I feel like their powers were more powerful like, than DC, and so I don't know. I I personally think there was like a lot of limitation to get a black movie out because A, the budget, B, the like racial restrictions that Hollywood had like probably prevented that. Where Blade was just a much easier thing. I mean, this has a lot of because this was produced by New Line Cinema that did Freddy, the Nightmare on Elm Street City series. They also did Ninja Turtles. They also did uh, what the heck? They did also The Mask. Uh, Jim Carrey's movie.
Mhm.
Like this feels like a more independent film. It's low budget. They have a decent budget, but like around $45 million, and and this character was a lot easier to sell. Like, okay, he's a vampire hunter, okay, and like his powers are a little easier to depict, and like it doesn't cost too much. Like
Mhm.
Spider-Man, who has to be like a CGI character to perform those like big heights of web slinging and like him fighting his villains.
Mhm.
So that's why this kind of got greenlit, and you don't look at it as a superhero film. Like it's okay, it's a horror film about vampire is hunting like a vampire that is like invincible. And he doesn't have all the weakness as a vampire, and like it's very interesting. And I feel like that's why it got off the ground quickly. Um, uh, yeah, and because and also like it's interesting. This also has Goyer, David S. Goyer doing this, and I think his screenplay did a really good job of like setting a tone and like a universe that you can get behind, compared to the '90s films of superhero stuff. So that's why we didn't get the Black Panther movie, unfortunately. So, but yeah, I think Wesley Snipes was a good choice. I mean, he really defined his like attitude, his like humor, and I think his costume is like the most iconic of any superhero, and I think he just brings that edge and also vulnerability to the character, and I think it really displayed in this film. He does a really good job in the first film.
Mhm.
So, and also the thing I really enjoy about this film is the supporting characters. I love uh, Whistler. He's a great mentor, and I love him.
Mhm.
Kris Costin, the actor that plays him, he's really
Mhm.
great, and I love him in Blade too. He's really funny in there,
Mhm.
and I like the female lady, the female lead. Like, I kind of like we don't get Blade a love interest in any of the films. Like even Blade 2 and Trinity, we don't do that.
Mhm.
Um, it's very refreshing because I really like that, and I like how the female leads are a little more proactive. Their own character. I like how they go through an arc, and where when we start doing the more popular films like X-Men and Spider-Man, they lead into so much of like the stereotypical female protagonist, and like it's awful, and especially
Mhm.
the Spider-Man trilogy where like Mary Jane is like there's no distress towards the end of the film,
Mhm.
and it's like it was ridiculous. I'm happy that these films don't do that. uh,
Yeah, I
but
agree. I think all of the characters were like interesting and they had something to do. Um,
yeah,
yeah.
uh, yeah, and actually I, and it's interesting because um Blade first like how do you know Blade before this film? That like you saw him in the Spider-Man series? That's how I got to know him.
No, I think the first time I saw something with Blade in it was this movie when I
Oh,
watched it when
okay,
I was younger.
okay. Yeah, because my first recollection of seeing Blade and Whistler is in the Spider-Man animated series and back in the '90s.
Hmm.
And Whistler was voiced by Mac McDowell, uh, fame of the Clockwork Orange film, and then of course there was someone else after McDowell wasn't available to voice him in some of the later seasons. And that, you know, that was a very good interpretation. That was like sticking to what he was in the comics. He didn't have like the glasses yet, so it was before the movie. Another thing that I forgot to also mention is the villains. Stephen Dorff, he's a great actor. I like him a lot, and I always forget he's in this film. But I really like Deacon Frost. I think he's a very interesting villain in the Blade film, and I like his plan that he was trying to do.
Yeah,
And it's yeah. What do you think?
No, I agree that he's really interesting. His plan was cool. I was wondering how vampires would eat if everyone was turned into a vampire. And when I was like getting ready for the podcast, I saw on the film's Wikipedia page that apparently there was like an earlier version of the film where the conversation that he has with Karen about curing vampirism, they like go into how they would feed if everyone became a vampire. And I wish that they had kept that, or I wish that there was like a better source than the Wikipedia article that went into more detail.
Yeah.
Because I'm really curious.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, because David S. Goyer bring that back in the third film, and one of the like human informants that work for the vampires, as you've seen throughout this film series, they take the homeless and use them as blood food. Like they do like a blood bank.
They take their blood, yeah.
Yeah, and so he brought that idea back in the third film, but like it's never really explored. He just likes the idea, and you see that. So yeah, I that it's a very interesting idea, but like I feel like it's like a very obvious idea. When you think about it, if like that's how they can like live very long.
Yeah,
like,
but I don't know, they'd still run out of blood eventually if they just had like blood banks.
That's true. There's something weird about the vampires and their blood. Like, could they just take blood for animals as well, and like they'd be fine? Like,
yeah, I'm not sure. I think in Buffy they do that. Maybe.
Oh, really? Okay.
They definitely steal blood from blood banks, but I feel like some of the ones that are like some of the good vampires might also eat animal or like drink animal blood.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of like the zombies, like like in their rules, like okay, you get bitten, and of course you had to cut off the arms or whatever body part to stop the infection.
Right.
But in reality, if you get infected, you're like, could the virus still in your blood cells? Like I don't.
It could be. I mean, cutting off the infected part could work, but it also could, like, you couldn't be sure that you got everything,
Yeah, I feel like the vampires and every like monster creatures like rules is kind of contrived, or like it's not really well thought out. So it's I mean, vampires are just, they've been around for so many years, and like there's so many interpretations.
Yeah.
For me, it's like I don't know, like
as long as they're like internally consistent within whatever story.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah, not like Twilight, because I don't know how they took the vampires. Anyway, sorry folks for mentioning Twilight. Ugh. Thank goodness, Will, you didn't see the Twilight films.
I have not.
Oh god, you're lucky. Wild story. I was going with my class, my whole like class to Boston, right? And I had to spend like 3.5 hours watching the first two films. Oh my god, I couldn't get my life back after that. Oh my god. Anyway, first one's okay. Second one's where I like. No, I don't like you anymore. Anyway. Oh my god. Yeah. I mean, this films they did a really good job of, as you say, well, like the conceit of the vampires are the same. It's kind of with this film you see like a system of the vampires, like
Hmm.
like the older gods, and like Deacon Frost is like the young hip vampire. It's very interesting, unlike the world that the director and the writer has built, and yeah, and I agree. I like the lead scene about the blood, like the human blood work for
Hmm.
the vampire source of food. I wish that kind of stay in this film, but like I I mean, there's so much going on in this film. I don't know why you have to have that in that. Like it makes sense why they deleted it, but like it's a good idea. So
Yeah.
um, and I think they did a good job being separated from. But the thing that was kind of unique is you have a vampire that is completely without their weakness. Like he can walk um in sunlight. He has like no, I mean, except for his like he has desire to consume human blood, just like the other vampires, Blade. So like that's the intimate idea, and I feel like that's the appeal of Blade is him being like a hybrid, like a human hybrid vampire, and that's
Yeah.
I think they really displayed that well. Um, I guess. Oh, and another thing that's cool about Deacon Frost is his connection to his mom. Um,
Hmm.
I am very surprised. Okay, I'm very impressed that they really stuck to the origins of Blade, and I like how this is very true of Blade. In the comics, Deacon did affect Blade's mom, and like that's how he gets his powers.
Hmm.
I like how here Deacon is a persevillain for Blade, and I like how I I wasn't. I guess the thing like there's a twist. I never expected his mom to come back in the film, and I was
Yeah.
surprised when he did. It was such a good twist. What do you think about that? Like,
Yeah, I agree. Like I had, so I hadn't watched this movie in a while,
mm,
and I had forgotten about that plot point.
yeah,
So I was really surprised when she showed up again, um, and that she was like on the side of Deacon. I think that was a really good twist and a really interesting conflict for Blade.
yeah, and very sad as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, oh man, it was. Oh, I was sorry. It was really messed up.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, yeah, and I guess another thing that's I mean, you got familiar actors here. You got one of Deacon's henchmen is the actor that plays um excuse me Harvey Bullock from Gotham. He's in this movie. Or he's the he was the Johnny Case manager from the first film. He's in this movie. Um, he's that crazy wild talk vampire that's like Deacon's friend.
Hmm.
Um, he's in this film. I really like him in this film. He's very, eccentric kind of vampire.
Yeah.
Um, he's the one that affects the female lead in the hospital. The one that gets burned. That's the one I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that character.
Yeah,
It was good, like comic relief, while also being like a threat. I don't know. I liked the scene like toward the end where Deacon
yes,
like jokes about cutting his arms off again.
yes, yes. That was so funny. Oh my god, what else? That was funny. There's a lot of humor here that I really like. Um, I like how Karen
Hmm.
um, sprays the like what is it pepper spray on the female,
The garlic. Yeah.
yeah, the garlic spray to the female lead, the vampire lady.
Yeah.
That was funny. um, I also like the action here. You mentioned the action. I
Hmm.
love the ending action scene of Blade beating up all the vampire like soldiers.
Hmm.
And I mean, I really enjoy Blade too. Like he does that again, and that's also crazy.
Hmm.
You know, and it's, oh my god, it's so crazy, and like you see the ridiculousness of this film, and like like he's punching the guy, and then he's using a sword. Oh my god, it's that's such a great finale of like just finding multiple enemies at the same time.
Hmm.
It's a really good scene. That's something I wish other superhero films do that. Like what, like one of those like experienced fighters. Like I want to see that in Shang-Chi. Um,
Yeah, just him
like,
against like an army.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
because it's
it,
usually it's like one on one, just like a bunch
yeah,
of CGI people punching each other. So yeah, it's
yeah,
definitely interesting to watch like one person take down
take down, yeah,
a, a team.
yeah, and I feel like that's something we don't do. Like I kind of like wish I see that with the Batman films. Like
Hmm.
I mean he kind of does that a little bit in Begins and Dark Knight.
Hmm.
Um, um, but like after that, it's like kind of like he fights one person. And like it makes sense to do that more because like you save some money and like you like have a very more interesting scene
Hmm.
to watch. Like I don't know, because sometimes I get tuned off by all the explosions and like just just the the editing, the quick edits they do with the action
Yeah,
scenes. It's just too much.
yeah.
So
That was another thing I liked about this movie. Like, there weren't a lot of quick cuts during the action scenes. You
yes,
actually like stayed in one spot, could see people like attacking each other. It was really well done,
yeah,
and it was very like the camera work was very like kinetic without being frantic. If that makes sense. Like
yes, I yeah.
it,
It's
it
like
moved, but you could still follow what was happening.
yeah, it's like John Wick where they hold the scene
Hmm.
long enough to like they hold the scene long so you can see what's going on,
Yeah.
and like you see what's the action doing. Yeah, I totally agree. This has a better action scenes than the later sequels. I like Blade 2, but like the action there is good, but like it does the kind of quick edits and like
Hmm.
the coverage is a little close because I mean, Grim into Total, I don't think at that point he hasn't yet done action, but when he does do like the Hellboy series and Pacific Rim, he gets better at that. So I don't follow him for Blade 2. I mean, Blade 2 is still a terrible film. Um, but yeah, I agree. The action here is really great, and I guess my favorite action scene is the train sequence. That's very impressive.
Yes.
That's like the highlight for me for the film. Uh, and I guess oh um what else? Oh, something else. I noticed this in Wikipedia. Apparently, the director was portraying Morbius in a cameo.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw that too.
that's weird.
Yeah,
I
that would have been interesting.
yeah. Um, it's interesting that um I I don't know if they have the rights for Morbius, but like it could have been interesting to see Morbius as a villain in this film series.
Hmm.
Um, you know, because I like Morbius as a villain, and he's a very interesting Spider-Man villain as well.
Yeah.
Um, but unfortunately, he's getting his movie, I
Right.
and I kind of wish he could be the first villain that Blade versus in the MCU, and
Right.
so
But he's owned by Sony, so
yeah, I know, but oh god,
I wish Sony, if we can go on a tangent,
yes,
um, I wish Sony would um, just let Marvel Studios like do their thing with their characters, and they can just like get the profits for when they make like a Sony character
Mm.
like specific story. Like if they make a Spider-Man movie or like a Sinister Six movie, but like just let Marvel do all of the character work because
Yeah.
it seems like they're like building towards a Sinister Six,
Right.
but they're doing it in such like a weird, like mishmashed way.
Yeah.
It's gonna feel I don't like is Spider-Man even like a part of their universe yet, or is it just gonna be like you have the Sinister Six, and they're all villains, who fights them?
I.
Or is Venom gonna fight them? Like
I. I mean,
it's such a weird
weird. It's a
plan.
weird. Yeah, it's a weird thing. I.
Um,
But also, the other question is, why couldn't they just use the other Spider-Man for their universe? Like, you don't have to use Peter Parker in the shared like villain verse they're doing. Like,
mhm.
can we just use Miles Morales and or Gwen Stacy as the titular Spire person in their universe? Like, I'm like
Yeah,
a I I I understand what Sony's doing, but like they're making really weird choices, and some of them like common sense that they should take, right? I don't need Peter Parker in that universe. You could just use another Spider-Man, like Miles Morales or like Ben Riley, the Scarlet Spider, as the main Spider-Man in that separate continuity, right?
yeah, yeah.
I feel like you can do that,
Maybe
but yeah,
maybe what they'll try to do
yeah.
is get Marvel to like make like a Spider-Verse type movie
Mhm.
and then have like I don't
Well,
know. I'd like there needs to be something to explain to like normal audiences that aren't following the like interstudio drama.
I mean, I,
That like explains why there's two different Spider-Men in the different movies.
now be fair though, we're getting two Batman. Like we're actually getting three Batmans next year. So I don't think the people will be confused. I just feel
Whoa,
like um
what do you mean
oh
we're getting three
oh
Batman?
sorry. Well, besides Robert Pattinson and his
Yeah,
like solo film,
yeah.
the Flash movie, we having Ben Affleck and Michael
Oh,
Keaton. Like,
okay.
uh,
I didn't
uh,
know that he was. I forgot that
yeah,
the Flash was gonna have. It has Michael Keaton too, right?
yes,
Yeah,
that's why I say three because Robert Pattinson, Ben Affleck, and Michael Keaton are all playing Batman,
yeah.
and they're
But it's gonna be about like the multiverse, right? So I think
yeah, that's
that'll
cool.
like explain to the audience why there's multiple versions of Batman.
Yeah,
I think Marvel needs to do something like that in live action with Spider-Man before
well,
Sony can have just like
yeah,
another Peter Parker running around.
yeah. I here's the thing. I I don't need Spider-Man in the film verse, or like they can just use another character. That's like I think what they should do. But also, I want to remind you that Spider-Man: No Way Home is a multiverse,
Yeah,
and
I,
and I
I think that'll do what I'm talking about.
yeah,
I think that's their plan for it. Uh, at least I hope that's their plan for it. But
yeah. I I don't know. It's quite unclear what's like unlike the Avengers, like the DCU, they were going to build up the Justice League. That was the plan,
mhm.
which didn't plan out right. Obviously, um, this one is just weird because I mean they've been like they've been a little like they haven't really talked about the Sinister Six at all for like either for the Villainverse or even in Spider-Man: No Way Home because we have Doc Ock there, we have
Mhm.
Electro there, and we don't know if Mysterio is back. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
It's just very unclear what's. And then also, this is the last. Well, not no. This is going to be Holland. We signed the contract. There's two for one more solo Spider-Man film that's coming out. No Way Home, and then another crossover for any Marvel Studio film coming out, which we don't know where he's going to pop up there. Could be Doctor Strange. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then afterwards, is Spider-Man going to be no more in the MCU afterwards? That's it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing how Spider-Man's being handled. So, and I guess okay, let's kind of transition into this. Soon we're gonna talk later the sequels in the podcast. In the nearest future. When you hear like Mahershala Ali being announced as Blade back in 2019, wow, 2 years, and them doing a Blade film, were you surprised that they're going to do that? Will?
Yeah. They have so many characters to choose from, and Wesley Snipes' version of the character was so like definitive that I was surprised. I know that they had been like working on a new Blade film for a while, and that Wesley Snipes had been like trying to get them to make another one with him in it.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Yeah.
I know that Wesley Snipes was upset when it was announced, and I hope that they can bring him back and like involve him in some way, because I know that role means a lot to him.
Oh yeah, I completely agree, guys. Ugh. Oh my god, I can't talk today. I cannot. I completely agree because I think Wesley Snipes is Blade. I feel like he helped reinvent that character, and like he's the only character like actor that I see Blade as, and um and I kind of it'd be kind of cool he'd be like the mentor. He could be a Whistler, and that could be a great way to honor the original series.
Mm-hmm.
um
Yeah, I think that would be good.
yeah um and I and I I guess I was shocked because why they're gonna do like a horror film that's like the thing I'm concerned about is the rating, and I know like the fact we're getting a PG-13 vampire film,
Mm.
and like 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 like
Have
I
they said
understand.
that it's going to be PG-13?
Well, to be honest with you, he's in the MCU. They're not gonna do rated R films.
Well, if Deadpool's in there now.
Yeah, well, even that, like I I know Deadpool is gonna be rare, but the problem is I like even that's a little like um what was the word, like that's a little hazy at this moment because if they want to do Deadpool in the MCU, they have to make it PG-13.
No, they said uh, recently that they were like committed to keeping it R,
Yeah,
but it's
which
still
that
in the MCU.
okay, I guess so. I mean, right now they haven't really confirmed their rating, so like to be fair, I don't know where's Blade going to be rated R or PG-13. So I, uh, that's, we're. I mean, I was kind of surprised that we haven't had Blade in Phase 4, and
Yeah, they haven't like announced anything about like where they're taking the character.
yeah,
Like they announced the actor, but there's no news of where the character is showing up.
yeah. We just know the writers. Like that's all I know. They
Mhm.
hire writers recently, but yeah, yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's clear that they're going to do it for Phase 5. I'm sorry, Phase 5. Because I know, despite this film not having a release date of FF, Fantastic Four, that's going to be towards the end of the Phase 4 because it's no convenience that their symbol was towards the end of that movie teaser that they released like a month ago, and so where Blade was never really in that footage, or like you didn't saw like the Mahershala Ali reveal in that clip. So I feel like the Blade film, the reboot, is going to be in Phase 5. So, is there anything else you want to talk about, Will? I think that we covered everything for Blade.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, Will, we got 2 more weeks until Loki. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Oh, well, it's a week and a half.
Oh, really? What?
Yeah, because it comes out on June 9th, right? They moved it to Wednesdays. So it's a week from this Wednesday.
Hold on. No, not. I'm looking at the show. I am not looking at the character, the Norse mythology. Okay, I'm like, okay, the first episode, yeah, June 9th. I'm pulling up the calendar because,
Okay.
Yeah, because, okay. Okay, so Tuesday from Friday is June 1st to June 4th, right? And yeah, okay, you're right. Then the following week is Wednesday, yeah. Yeah, that's, oh my God, that's, crazy. I'm really excited that now we have another Disney Plus show to talk about. I guess so. Now, for the next podcast, before we do the TV weekly series discussion, can we do X-Men First Class next?
Yeah, sure.
Next Sunday, June 6th. It's also its 10th anniversary, and it'd be great to talk about X-Men film finally.
Yeah.
Okay. So you want to do that?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay. So, everyone, thank you for joining this podcast. Me and Will be back next Sunday to discuss X-Men First Class. So, thank you, Will, for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yep, no problem. And everyone, enjoy your weekends, and we'll see you next week.